Hi guys! Welcome to episode 9 of Auntie Danny Knits. I'm Danny and I'll be your host. You can find me on Instagram as Danielle Lanois or on Ravelry as Lanois. That's Lanois. So let's get started with some knitting. Actually, the first thing we're starting with is not knitting, it's crochet. I finished the pink granny square blankie that I've been working on since sometime in 1998. So this has been a long-term project. This was my entry for July for Boston Jen's WIP 2017 in the Butt Challenge. And I have it here. It's all folded up. I'll show that to you. So this is a bunch of pink granny squares. So the square's pink, and then it's got a row of white, and those are what I had finished. They were finished, they were sitting in a bag, just waiting for me to decide what I was going to do. And what I ended up doing was I crocheted another round and then joined them as I went. So there's a little bit of a raised seam along the edges here, and that is where I joined this square to this one as I was going. And then when I finished, I did a round of this darker pink, then another round of the light pink, and then a scallopy edge in white. I used up almost all of the yarn that I had, which is great because apparently when I got this stuff, I had no plan. The yarn, as far as I can tell, is probably some Bernat Baby Coordinates in, again, the pink, the white, and a dark pink. The pink and the white I got many years ago, 1997, 1998-ish. I got it as mill ends in a, I think it was like a 1 pound bag, something like that. You know, the giant bags that you get at the craft store of mill ends. I got that, and I want to say I got 3 bags of the pink and 1 or 2 of the white, and thought, oh, I'll make something. I made something eventually. But yeah, because it was mill ends, it didn't have any information. But because I've worked with a bunch of different baby yarns, and I've worked with that Bernat Baby Solid or Baby Coordinates in other colors, I really do think that's what it is. It felt the same, it looked the same, so that's most likely what it is. I used a 4mm crochet hook, and this whole thing, again, I'm still only showing it to you folded up because it was such a beast to fold up. It is 48 inches wide by 72 inches long. So it is big. It is absolutely big enough to be a coverlet for a twin size bed, which was my goal. I wanted this to be for one of my nieces, and it's going to be for Bear because she loves pink. I have 2 other blankets started, and I know you've seen the My Favorite Blanket, that's the multicolored one. I don't think you've seen the popcorn blanket. That's going to come out soon because it also needs to get worked on. But yeah, this one is for Bear. Bug's going to get the My Favorite Afghan one, and I think Bean is going to get the popcorn blanket. But we'll see as I finish them. For now, this blanket is getting folded up and put away in the guest room until either my parents come to visit or my sister comes to visit and someone takes it back with them, because it weighed more than 2 pounds, and honestly, I don't want to try to mail it. It's going to be big and unwieldy, or I'm going to have to put it in a box. And as soon as you put something in a box, it costs way more to ship, especially shipping international. So, but I am done with it, and I'm really pleased. I threw it in the washer and dryer because it's acrylic, and that's how it's going to be washed and dried when it makes its way to its final home. So I wanted to make sure it was good. I laid it out on my bed, my queen size bed, and it actually reached almost from edge to edge on the queen size bed, so it's substantial. I laid it out, I trimmed all the leftover little ends. I cheated. I didn't weave in ends. I actually picked them up and crocheted them in as I was joining all the squares, because it was 77 squares, and with 2 ends per square, plus another 2 ends from joining on that second white round. That was going to be more ends than I want to count to weave in, and I knew that if I didn't pick them up and crochet them in as I went, and I waited to weave them in, or even if I did it as I went, it was going to be so much weaving in ends that I was just going to throw my hands up and say, nope, I'm done. But now I am done, and I'm really pleased with it. So that is the blanket, finally done. Yeah, I really am pleased with the scallopy edge on that. I like it. It was just, I did six double crochets in the space between two little shells, and then a single crochet in the next one, and then 6 double crochets, and then a single all the way around. In the corners, I did 9 double crochets in that corner space. And I'm not giving away any secret sauce because this was just me making it up as I went. It's pretty basic, just granny square setup. Nothing fancy, but it's pink and it's a little bit shiny and sparkly, and I think Bear's gonna love it. The next thing I finished is another sort of gift. I don't have any sock blockers to put these on because we sold out of the large size sock blocker, so Jim has to make some more. But I finished his Ray socks. So these are just a fish lips kiss heel, and my standard toe up. I don't really use a pattern for it, just a toe up sock with a short cuff because he likes them short. The yarn is Mustache Yarn in the Ray colorway, one of her Star Wars colorways from last year. I use a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I knit these on my Knitter's Pride carbons, and I used a fixed circular, and they're done. They still need to be washed and blocked, but that's going to wait until I get more sock blockers. I also need to still take pictures of them, but I think that's going to wait until I finish my pair. So yeah, those are done. The final thing that I finished this week is some NICU noggins. So I'm going to the Into the Wool fiber retreat in September, and one of the ways to participate in some extra fun and earn some points for knitting is to knit these preemie hats, NICU noggins, little hats for babies that are in the neonatal intensive care unit. Wow, that may or may not get edited out. So yeah, I've made several of these, and they're just tiny little hats. I'm using, right now, this batch has been all with leftover worsted weight acrylic. So this is some Premier Yarn Deborah Norville Everyday Stripey. I've got a couple of those. This one is using some Hobby Lobby I Love This yarn. That's what that dark blue speckly. And then the light blue is from, I threw out the ball band already, but it's from a Karen cake, I think. One of those where you buy the cake and it changes colors, and you can make a multicolor shawl or something with a single cake of it. So that's what that is. And I have 3 of that. And then I have 2 that are from that Karen cake itself. And you can see where the transition in colors is on this one. And same thing on this one. So these, the last 2 are not 2 yarns. It's a single yarn. It just changed color. So those are the NICU noggins that I finished this week. In the last 2 weeks, sorry. I'm not getting that many done at a time. But once I finished Jim's Ray socks, I took that sock bag out of my purse so that I could sit down and just do the weaving ends and stuff, and I didn't get back into my purse. I didn't get that bag back into my purse. So I just had grabbed some of these little NICU noggins. I had a couple of webinars this week at work, and when you're sitting and listening to stuff about all the new healthcare privacy stuff, if I'm not doing something with my hands, my brain starts to melt. It's really not thrilling stuff. But I do find that when I'm knitting something simple, something that I'm not thinking about, it's just my hands going, I'm able to concentrate a lot better. And I think that's not uncommon for knitters who don't have to look at what they're doing. I mean, I've heard about people who will knit in the movie theater. I've done that. I don't think I ever knit during class when I was at university, but I've heard of people doing that. It's one of those, the concept is called cognitive kinetic anchoring. And if you want to learn more about that, you can listen to the Teach Your Brain to Knit podcast. It's an audio podcast, and I really like it. It's all about knitting and the brain, and it's pretty cool. But point being that when I have to sit through webinars that want my brain to melt, if I'm working on just a simple little hat like this, because I do, I think, 5 rounds of ribbing and then 20 rounds of stockinette and then some decreases, as long as I'm not actually in the decrease section, I can be pretty mindless. I don't actually have to pay attention to what's going on in my hands, and it helps me focus. So that is what I've finished this week. That blanket was big. It used over 3,000 yards of yarn. That was a lot. So I've made some really good progress on my stash dash. My current stash dash total is based on the tab in my Ravelry project page. I've actually got everything for stash dash tagged with stash dash 2017. So this total doesn't include the NICU hats, because I don't think I should be counting the ones that I did before May, because even though I'm considering it one umbrella project, I'm not going to count them. It doesn't feel right to count the ones that I finished before Stash Dash started. So these are not included in that Stash Dash total, and Jim's socks are not included because the Star Wars socks on my project pages are all included under one big umbrella project again, and it's called my Star Wars Sock Saga, because I went a little bit overboard last year and I bought all of the mustache yarn Star Wars colorways, and I'm knitting my way through them. I'm making socks, 2 pairs out of each skein, one for Jim and one for myself. So when I get through them, each of us will have, I think it's going to be 12 pairs of Star Wars socks. Maybe I'll have them done before the next movie comes out. Or maybe not, who knows. So not including the Star Wars socks or the NICU noggins, my stash dash total is 9,465 meters. So I'm like this close to my 10K. So once I add in the socks and the NICU noggins, and if I can get some of my whips done, I will have made some very good progress, and I think that I have a very good chance of hitting the 10K. And honestly, if I push it with some of these other projects that I've got that are, I'm going to say close. Well, maybe not close. Halfway to being done. And I've got some spinning that I'll show you too. So when I add everything up, there's a good chance that I will hit, well, I'm confident that I will hit 10K by August 20th, I think is when it ends. But there's a chance I'll even hit 15, which would be awesome. So that's my finished objects. All right, let's talk about what I'm working on. First up are my Ray socks. These are pretty much the exact same details as the ones that I just finished for Jim. It's mustache yarn in the Ray colorway. I'm going to be doing a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I'm using my US 1 2.25 millimeter fixed carbons, just magic looping 2 at a time, toe up, my favorite way of doing it. I've got a little marker here that is actually not where I was last week. I hadn't even started these last week. This little marker tells me where I finished doing my toe increases, because I'm a little bit quirky about how I like my socks. I like them exactly right. So from this marker I will knit 57 rows. Very precise. 57 rows, or rounds rather. And then I'll put in my Fish Lips Kiss heel. That's just what works for me, what feels good on my feet. So I'm working on them. I'm just past the second repeat of the striping. So I've got the little bit of teal down here, and I just passed it up here again. So those I'm working on, and again, they're still living in my official sock knitter bag with the little foxes, and that's a bag that I made myself. The second thing I'm working on is some more NICU noggins. I didn't bring them over here, but it's exactly the same as the ones that I showed you that I'm finished with. They're just really good portable knitting. I can whip one out on a day with a couple of car trips if Jin's driving. You know, going across town. Actually, I finished one today when we went across town to pick up something at the store and came back and realized that they didn't put it in our bag, so we had to go back, and between the two trips I finished a hat. So yeah, I've got those working on as well. I'm also working on the Palmer tank top by Alicia Plummer. So this is my current state. Where is it? Okay, so you can see the little dangle here. That's where I was last time, so I did knit that much. I'm using Unwind Yarn Company Journey Sock in the Lake Francis Sunrise color. This was her special yarn for last year's Into the Wool retreat. I'm not very far yet, but I haven't been working on this. The last 2 weeks, I've really been pushing to get that blanket done because I wanted to finish it for the July WIP 2017 in the Bud Challenge. And honestly, I wanted to finish it because it had been on the needles, like I said, since 1998. So that is 19 years almost. I needed to get it off the hook. I needed to be done with it. So I really pushed. I wanted to finish that. So I didn't work on a lot of other stuff as heavily, and the things that I did work on were little things that I could pick up and put down. This one is not quite so easy to pick up and put down because I am, you can see there are extra bits of yarn here. I'm alternating skeins because this is a highly variegated colorway, and even though they look pretty similar in the ball, it's so variegated that I wouldn't be able to tell until I hit the change between two balls whether or not they were close enough to be comfortable with. So I'm just alternating. I'm actually alternating every row, every round, and it's fine. It's going fine. It just means that I need to be working on it in a place where I can have the extra ball hanging out. It's not something that I can put in my purse and take to work because I've got them. I'm not using an actual project bag. I'm using one of the shopping bags from Joann's. I'll bring it up here. This one. But I've got it set up so that the two balls are sitting on the bottom of the bag. And when I finish a round, I actually just rotate the bag 180 degrees. And nothing gets tangled, nothing gets messed up. So it works out really well. But that means that I have to be sitting somewhere where I can have that bag out at my feet. So I'm usually sitting up here in my craft room or downstairs in the living room. Here's the ball band for, ooh, that's blowing out quite a bit. Unwind Yarn Company, Lake Francis Sunrise. And it's an 80/20 Super Rush Merino Nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams. I really like it. It's going well. So that is that. I am also, actually, I didn't show you what it's supposed to look like. You've seen what it looks like in progress. Let's see if I can get a good picture of that. That's blowing it out quite a bit. There we go. There we go. So it's just a basic tank top. I'm not doing the color blocking. I'm doing just a solid color. But that's what it's going to look like. Nice and simple, but I think it's going to be really comfortable when it's done. So there's that. I am also working on Sweet Apricot by Tyga Hilliard. This is going to be for my niece, Bug. I'm getting there on this one. So I need to knit, I want to say we figured out that according to the pattern, I've got to knit another 2.5 inches from where I am now. But I think what I want to do, because this dress is going to be part of a set of 3. One for Bear, one for Bug, one for Bean. They're all different patterns, but they all have the same little leaf motif. The one that I did for Bear is already finished, but it's a fairly long little dress. So I think what I'm going to do is pull out Bear's dress, measure the length of it, and then probably subtract about 4 inches for the height difference between bear and bug, and then knit this to the appropriate length to be comparable. But there's my little sheepy stitch marker, so that's where I was last time I podcast. So that was about 2 weeks ago, and I've done 1 repeat and a little bit. It's a little bit slow going. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. I really enjoyed knitting it. It's just a lot of stitches. A lot of stitches. And it takes me about an hour to do a pattern repeat. And I think I worked it out. Each pattern repeat is about 1 inch. I think I need to do, well, I have to do some measuring before I know how much more I need to do. But I've probably got another 5 to 6 hours worth of knitting on this before I hit the bottom border. But that's okay, because I like to knit and I've got time for it. And honestly, I've done this, for this much. I've got the pattern repeat memorized now, so I actually don't have to have my pattern with me. I'm not alternating skeins. I'm using Loops and Threads Snuggly Wuggly in the color Dark Turquoise, and it's cute. I'm probably going to have to break into the second skein. I've got a pretty floppy ball of the first left. Let's see if I can show you. That's what the label looks like. Wow, really getting blown out today. That's what the label looks like. So there's a very good chance that I'm gonna have to break into the second ball, but because it's commercially dyed and I got the same dye lot, I'm not too concerned about needing to alternate skeins or anything. I may alternate the last couple of rows as I'm switching in the new skein. That one I'm knitting using a US 7 4.5 millimeter and a US 8 5.0 millimeter. I'm using Hiya Sharp fixed circulars. I really like using those. Those are some of my favorite needles. And honestly, as soon as I'm done with that, I'll probably start another project on those same needles, because I just like them. What else? Oh, I've got some spinning that I'm working on. So if you watched my Instagram during Tour de Fleece, I was working on a bullseye bump, a loop bullseye bump from Loop Fiber Studio, and this one was Hidden Passion, and it was merino bamboo and tussa silk, and it's so nice to work with. I love working with fiber with silk in it. It's so nice. I really enjoy it. So this is my finished fiber, and you can see, let's see if I can hold that up. It is very fine. It is, yeah, I spun this very fine. That is my favorite way to spin. I really like a very fine single. This one I'm going to chain ply. I just wasn't ready to jump into it yet. I finished on the last day of Tour de Fleece, so I was really proud of myself. This one is 4.9 ounces, so almost 5 ounces. And I started working on it before Christmas this past year. So I've been working on it for a while. Well, no. I started it a while ago, and it's been sitting on my wheel for a while. I'd pick it up every once in a while. I'm saying while a lot, sorry guys. I pick it up occasionally and spin a little bit more, but I really didn't push on it until Tour de Fleece started. Then I decided that I was going to spin every day. And I actually ended up spinning on this almost every day. I did have some drop spindle fiber that I was working on. I haven't worked on it again, not since the last time I podcasted. But I concentrated on this because I wanted to get it done. And actually, once I've got this chain plied, one of the ladies from my knit group lent me a Noro magazine that has a pattern that she just finished knitting that looked really nice in the stripy Noro that she had, and I think that the self-striping that this will have will be really nice in that same pattern. So I've got a pattern all picked out. I just have to ply it and then start knitting. And then I've got one other work in progress on my wheel. Actually, as soon as I took that one off, I started another. And this is some fiber from Unwind Yarn Company, and I bought this at Stitches in, I want to say it was 2014. It was the only Stitches I've ever been to, and the color is Teeny Bikini, and it's an 8515 Polworth Tessa Silk blend, and it's a little over 100 grams, 4.1 ounces. And what I ended up doing was I split the braid in half, weighed it to make sure it was about equal, and then started spinning. I've decided that I'm going to do this as a 2-ply, and I am challenging myself. I am trying to spin it thicker. Of course, this end isn't the best. Because, of course, at the very end I got a little bit thinner. But I'm trying to spin it thicker, the idea being that I want to end up with a 2-ply worsted-ish weight. Because I really like these. These colors are some of my favorites. I love sort of the mint and teal and purple and blues. Those are my favorite shades. And I want to use this to knit. I think I want to make some hats. Like for, I can't decide. I wanted to do some for my nieces at first, but as I was working with it, I'm like, I like this. I like this color. I like the way it's spinning up. I like the slight barber poling even within the singles. I think I'm going to love the end result plied. I may just save it for me. Make myself, I think it would look really cool with like a kind of slouchy hat and maybe a matching cowl. Not that I'm living in a place where I need a lot of hats and cowls, but no, in the winter it gets cool enough that I can wear a hat with my sweatshirt. I don't get to complain about the cold. My family laughs at me every time I try to complain about the cold because they're in a much colder climate than I am. But, you know, it does get cool enough that it's okay for me to wear hand knits. So I'm thinking about maybe making something for myself out of this. And now that I'm thinking about it, these colors, the purple and that minty, pale, turquoisey color, are very similar to the colors in a set of hand warmers that I have from, I can't remember who the dyer was. It was the colorway that was dyed for the Knitting Samurai podcast several years ago. It was one of the first indie dyed fibers that I bought. But yeah, a hat or a scarf out of this would probably match those. See? I think. Well, I didn't actually do all that much shopping this past couple of weeks, but I did get some more stuff in. And actually the first thing that I got made me so happy. It was a couple months ago that the Knitmore Girls podcast had their contest for Knitmore's 11. If you don't listen to the Knitmore Girls, you really need to go listen to them. They are awesome. But this contest was, the prize was one of their swag bags from Stitches West, because they had one that got fell out of the box and landed in the trunk, and they came home and had it, and they hadn't given it away. And the challenge was to actually tell your best story about ending up at Stitches using an Ocean's 11 sort of theme. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you go all the way back to the beginning of my channel, you'll see my entry. I actually did a video entry, and doing that and using the software and figuring out how easy it was part of why I decided to start podcasting, because the technology end of it was going to be super simple. The podcasting part, maybe a little bit more complicated, but the technology end, I got that. But I won a swag bag from them, and so I got that in the mail. So the first thing I got was this awesome little tote bag. I love it. I think this is actually what my my current whips are going to live in. Within their project bags, they're going to go into that, so that I can take that to knit night. I'm just excited. But there was so much other cool stuff in there. Got a pen from Miss Babs and a sample. This is some of her Killington Polworth Tessa Silk. in the colorway Half Past Midnight. It's so pretty. And I think this may end up getting used for this year's Christmas projects. Last year I did an Advent project of knitting a mini mitten every day through the month of December, and I used mini skeins like this, and this may make its way into that. I'm kind of excited about that. What else did we get? I got a sample of Beyond Clean, the unicorn, on the Knit More Girls podcast. Jasmine talks about this a lot, using it to clean all the kids' stuff. And I haven't really needed to get anything super clean like that, but my sister has with some of the stuff that I've knit for her. And of course, it's on the things that are wool, not the things that are acrylic. So I may not use this myself. I may actually send it to her so that she can give it a try and see how it works. I also got this awesome keychain, Knit Fast, Dye Warm. I actually don't know where it came from, but it's awesome. It's one of those that you can hold and put your keys on the end. So I didn't put my keys on it yet because I wanted to show it, but this is totally going on my keychain, like right away. Also got a sample of fiber from Lisa Souza, and I haven't actually ever knit or spun with anything from Lisa Souza, but I hear about her a lot, so this is going to be fun to experiment with. I got a sample of some Plum Deluxe tea. Oh, it smells so good. Just a picture of a rose, but this is the Self-Care Blend Herbal Tea. So, oh, it smells good. I didn't used to be a big herbal tea person. I was always, red rose, orange pekoe tea. That was it, a whole bunch of sugar. But I sort of started moving away from that. I tried some Tivana teas and then some David's teas, and as I'm trying these different herbal tea mixes that have more flavor to them than just tea flavor, I'm actually finding that I don't need as much sugar. And it just smells so good. I apologize for the clicking. That's my dogs walking in and out of the room. I've discovered that if I lock them out, they cry. And now they're shaking. But if I let them in here, they should, wander around for a minute, get settled, and be good. So sorry about the clicking for the toenails, but that's my puppies. The other thing I got was this little Notions pouch from them. So it's got a little pouch. It's got what's this thing called? Tape measure with their name on it, and a really nifty little pair of scissors that just, how did that work? I don't remember. Oh, it just slides forward, and then you've got little snips, but it slides back in, so they're totally protected, so you don't accidentally cut your knitting. And a Haya needle. So I'm super excited about this. Thank you so much, Jasmine and Gigi. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you even watch this, but it's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So that was the first thing that came into my home. The second thing was actually something that I ordered, and again, I've been listening to a lot of Knit More Girls. I've had a couple of different brands of lotion bars. I've tried, I'm trying to remember the brands. One of them was a local maker. I got it at one of our street festivals. Another one was a sample that I got, it might have been at Stitches, I'm not sure. But I've had a couple of different ones. There's another one that's a stick form that I get from where I get my massage therapy, and I decided to order some Lolo samples because I really like the lotion bars, but I don't like having to carry lotion around with me. Does that make sense? I like to have it in the place where I am. So I need one for on my bedside table in the bedroom. I need one for with my knitting stuff. I need one for downstairs where I do my other knitting. I want one in my purse. I want one at work. So I thought, I'll try some samples because Lolo does little mini samples like this. So you can try different scents and see what you like. So I got several different ones, and a couple of them are actually gifts for someone else, so I'm not going to go into any detail on those. But for myself, I got the Lavender Lil, which I really like. I like the scent of lavender. I think 2 of the other lotion bars that I have from other companies are also lavender. And I also got the Sunshine. Oh, I love the smell of the Sunshine, guys. It's just so, it really does smell like sunshine. It's fresh and bright. So I've tried both of them. I like them. I really enjoy how they work. I've actually got some on now, and it rubs in really nicely. It doesn't leave a very greasy feeling. It takes a minute or so to soak in, but any lotion does. So, you don't want to put it on right before you start doing something. You want to put it on and wait a couple of minutes, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm happy with it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and order a full-size Lolo bar. But I think I'm going to order it in Sunshine, not lavender. Nothing wrong with lavender. I just like the Sunshine even better. So that also came in. The final thing actually connects with some of my other chit chat. I have 3 balls of Cascade Anthem. And it's their 100% acrylic. Let's see if I can show you that. 100% acrylic. It's 100 grams, 186 yards, 170 meters. Nothing too fancy about it. I got some in colorway number 10, which is a magenta, and 6, which is a gray, and 33, which is sort of a tealy color. So I got these 3 colors because I'm actually going to be teaching a class at my local yarn store, and this is part of the supplies that will be needed. So let's transition into talking about other stuff. So yes, I'm going to be teaching a couple of classes in the next little while at my local yarn shop, which is fun. The last time I podcasted, I just taught a class on the MIDI keychain sock blocker sock pattern, which is fun. I was scheduled to do it again this current weekend, yesterday. That's the day I'm looking for. And there didn't end up being anyone there who was interested in that, but I hung out at the shop and we talked about upcoming classes that she wanted to have. So in a couple weeks' time, I'm actually going to be doing a class about different cast-ons and bind-offs, and then I'm also going to be doing a toe-up sock class. We'll be doing baby socks, so they're small, so that you can probably get through the toe and heel in the amount of time that we're working. But that way, if you've never done toe-up socks before, it's a good chance to learn how to do it. So yeah, there's that. Nail polish. I'm wearing, I don't remember the name of the sparkle, but the gray silver is that same OPI My Silk Tie that I wore a couple weeks back. I really like that color, and I've got just some bluish sparkle on the tips. A little bit hard to see, but it's sort of an ombre effect with the sparkles more dense near the tips and a little less going up, because I've been looking at nail stuff on Instagram, because that's what I do now, apparently. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Oh, I know what I'm forgetting. The contest. Oops, I knew there was something. The mini sock blocker, yeah. There was actually only 1 entry. So you win, Becky! Yay! Let me know when you see this, and we'll set things up so that you can get your mini sock blocker and pattern. Thanks for watching me, guys. I really appreciate it. And I will include here all the different ways you can find me on the internet. Easiest way to contact me is either by email, or I actually do check my RAV messages. I am not one of those podcasters who's super crazy popular and can't get through all the messages. I really don't get that many, so if you want to contact me that way, you can do it. I think that's it for now. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.